Season 4. This episode is entitled, Stop Digging Up Seeds to Check on Them. Have you ever planted a seed and then dug it up the very next day to see if it was growing? Of course not, because gardeners understand something many of us forget. Growth requires trust. Yes, and that's exactly what we sometimes do in life. We start a new habit, and then we question it. We start healing or seeing a therapist, and then we question it. We launch a new business, and then we question it. We apply for a job, then we question it. We pray for the opportunity and the doors open, and then we question it. We plant the seed, and then we dig it up to see if it's working. And every time we dig up that seed, we interrupt the process. As we continue walking the garden today, we're talking about trust, patience, and why some things need time underground before they can grow above ground. Hey y'all, I am Madison Samone Chase, also known as Miss Chase. I was raised in church. My great-grandmother played the piano for my church, and my faith journey has always been at the center of who I am. And I am incredibly thankful to have been raised by a hardworking, sacrificial, high-functioning, high-performing, single mother who remains my biggest fan, my bestie, my forever BFF, my best friend for real. Honoring God through service and making my mama proud and using the gifts he gave me has always been deeply important to me. And over the past several seasons of Cut to the Chase at 8, now C2TC8 H.E.R Circle, which stands for high-performing, empowered women and some men who are ready to thrive. We've talked about awareness, detox, discernment, boundaries, being too nice and no more nice, rebuilding, and becoming. But as I entered this next season, season 4, I found myself thinking less about what needed to be removed and more about what needed to be cultivated. Because before a gardener plants for the next season, he, they walk the garden. She takes inventory. The gardener takes inventory. And they noticed what flourished, they noticed what struggled, and they noticed what produced fruit. They noticed what never took root, and they noticed what needs pruning or cutting away. And the gardener notices what has completed its purpose. And that's what season 4, for me personally, is all about. Walking the garden. And taking an honest look at the people, places, and things in our lives, or the garden. And not with judgment, and definitely not with shame, but with wisdom. Because every person, every place, and everything produces fruit. And before we ask for a bigger harvest, we may need to take a closer look at the roots. So whether you're a high-performing mother, father, single father, caretaker, entrepreneur, aspiring entrepreneur, working a 9-to-5, juggling 2 or 3 jobs, quietly rebuilding, or simply trying to grow through life one season at a time, this space and this circle is for you. So if you're listening and or watching, pull up a real chair or a digital chair and grab yourself a cup of hot or cold herbal tea. And welcome to my cozy home and my digital home of Cut to the Chase at 8, now C2TC8 H.E.R Circle. Her standing for high-performing, empowered women and some men who are ready to thrive. It is a 15-minute micro-learning moment for macro-living transformations. And I am truly overjoyed that you are here, that you're listening, that you're sharing. because sharing is caring. Now let's take one breath together to start this episode. We're going to inhale for 3, 2, 1. We're going to exhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. One of the hardest parts of growth is that growth often looks like nothing. At least in the beginning. No fruit, no flowers, no visible evidence, just dirt. Just waiting, just faith. And that's where many of us, it's where we quit. And sometimes quitting doesn't look like the physical thing. It just looks like what we tell ourselves sometimes, or what we allow other people to tell us. And not because the seed was bad, and not because the dream was wrong, or the dream wasn't given to you, it wasn't your purpose, and not because the process wasn't working, but because we expected immediate, instantaneous proof. And we live in a culture obsessed with visibility. If we can't see it, we assume it isn't happening. But gardeners, they know better. Some of the most important growth happens underground. Roots develop before fruit appears. Strength develops before visibility arrives. And strength develops before you actually see muscles and a six-pack. The discipline develops before you actually see visible evidence of growth and strength and muscles and shape and change. And character develops before opportunity expands. And the problem is that many of us keep disrupting our own growth. We constantly second guess. We allow people to sometimes speak over us, their hurt and their traumas. And we constantly compare, we constantly pivot, and we constantly abandon the process. And not because growth isn't happening, but because growth isn't happening fast enough or quick enough or instantaneous enough, like a microwave, for our comfort. Which brings me to the PPT audit. People, places, and things. People. Who am I allowing to rush my process? Who am I allowing to speak over what they've seen me do in the future versus what they've seen me do presently? Like, no one can speak to your future, and no one should be allowed, or we shouldn't allow people to speak over our future based on what they know about our past and our present sometimes. Who constantly causes me to question healthy growth? And who in my life reminds me to trust the process? And then who in my life actually thinks that their process is different when they've had success than what my process is? Like, if you have found success and you don't have people in your life that are speaking that same success over you, that is someone that you need to reevaluate. Places. What environment makes me feel behind? What environments encourage my patience and my growth? Things. What goals have I abandoned too quickly? What commitments have I failed to give enough time to? What commitments have I consistently pursued? What commitments, what goals have I consistently pursued every single day? What seeds have I stopped watering because I expected immediate results? Ooh, let me say that one again. What seeds have I stopped watering because I expected immediate results? And the SAC challenge for the day. This week's spontaneous, assertive, authentic communication challenge is simple. Choose one area of your life where you've been demanding immediate results. And I want you to say out loud what those results are. And what do you believe requires a process? And say that out loud. And so when someone speaks against them, you have the words and the verbiage to speak SAC, your spontaneous, assertive, authentic communication. Sometimes we need to practice what that is. if someone says something over you, your purpose, your dream, or your vision, or the thing that you're working on that is against that thing, that you have the words to speak against it. It could be one sentence. No, that's not true. This is what it is. And then commit to trusting the process for the next 7 days and speaking what you believe your process is, the process that you're growing through, what you believe and know it to be true, and start speaking that thing over yourself. No digging, no obsessing, no constantly checking on the seed, no inconsistent action, but just consistent action, even small micro habits that you're going to put towards that dream and the thing that you're speaking into existence. And trust, which brings me to the 3 keys. Key number 1, growth often looks like nothing before it looks like something. And the growth actually, when you're toiling the soil, when you're fertilizing the soil, when you're growing it and allowing it to get sunlight, it could look like nothing is happening. And don't mistake invisibility for inactivity. Some of the most important growth happens underground, which brings me to key number 2. Constantly checking is often disguised as anxiety or fear. And that trust doesn't mean doing nothing. Trust means continuing to do the work without demanding immediate proof. Key number 3, every seed has its own timeline. And stop comparing your growth process to someone else's harvest. And stay focused on your assignment, your purpose that you're called to do. And keep reminding yourself that it is possible. And if you're going to compare yourself to people's stories who look like that they weren't going to have a winning season. Because your season is a season. And the person who eventually looked like they were not doing anything and they eventually won, like the New York Knicks coach who'd been fired from 4 different teams, and now he is a NBA championship coach. It didn't look like he was winning, being fired from 4 different teams, but he is now an NBA coach champion. One reflection question. Where in my life am I digging up a seed because I'm demanding instant proof instead of trusting the process? My closing thought for today. A gardener doesn't plant a seed and expect a tree tomorrow, because the gardener understands that growth requires time. The gardener understands that roots form before the fruit. And the gardener understands that patience isn't passive. It's part of the process. Trust the seed, trust the season, and trust the process. Because not everything that is growing can be seen. Some of the most important work is happening beneath the surface. And beneath the surface, and the process and the work can look like you taking time away from social media and focusing on building and focusing on learning and focusing on the things that you need to do for your purpose and your goal. And one day, what looked like nothing will reveal itself as growth all along. And remember, roots don't ask for applause while they're growing. Growth often looks like nothing before it looks like something. And that's where many of us become discouraged. And not because the seed isn't growing, and not because the process isn't working, but because we expect instant proof before the process has had time to produce itself. A gardener doesn't plant a seed and then spend every day digging it up, checking on it to see if it's working. The gardener plants, the gardener waters, the gardener tends, and most importantly, the gardener trusts. So as we move through this week, consider the areas of your life where you've been demanding immediate evidence the goal, the business, the healing, the relationship, the opportunity, the habit you're building, then ask yourself, am I nurturing the seed or am I disrupting the process? Remember, some of the most important growth happens underground. So continue giving yourself grace in this space. And let's take one closing breath. We're going to inhale for 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If this episode pricked your heart or lit a spark, please subscribe and share this podcast with someone you care about so that this space can continue to grow. And leave a review so we can continue growing. Cut to the chase at 8, C2TC8 H.E.R, which stands for High Performing Empowered Women and some men who are ready to thrive community together. Until next time, I'm Madison Samone Chase, and this has been Cut to the Chase at 8, C2TC8 H.E.R, a 15-minute micro-learning moment for macro-living transformations. Blessings to you and yours. Until tomorrow. And remember, roots don't ask for applause while they're growing.